What's going on, guys? Welcome along to another video. And as you can tell by the green machine below me, I am on a Kawasaki. Today I am on the 1000SX for 2024, and straight away, as soon as you jump on it, it has got that Kawasaki smoothness. Now, if you don't know what I'm on about, Kawasaki across pretty much all of their line just have this it's a smoothness about the engine, where the throttle roll on is just oi. The gear changes are pretty much always on point. Now we'll talk about the quick shifter later on when we get out the 30 and what I think of it. But so far, this 1000SX, now I must say this is the Performance Tourer Edition, and that does add a few extra little goodies, but it does increase the price a little bit. But before we cover off what you get in the Performance Tourer package, let's talk about the base. So the engine in this, 1043cc, 140 brake horsepower and 111 newton meters of torque. What do the numbers mean? In a nutshell, this is a fantastic base for a sports tourer. When you want to take off the luggage, you can rip it around and you can have some fun. And then when you want to go touring, you whack on the side bags, and again, it's a fantastic engine to do that. I know in the past years, 22 and 23, I complained quite a bit about the vibrations and the wind turbulence coming off A, the engine, and B, obviously the windscreen. So they claim for 24 that they've changed the windscreen slightly. So we'll see. We'll see if the windscreen is still there. The turbulence hits on the top of the helmet. I'm 6'1", I'm not small, and I'm not skinny. But so far, vibrations wise, there is none. Second gear, 20, 30 miles an hour, we're okay. Third gear, 30 miles an hour, no vibrations. So far, we're doing good. Looking at some of the electronics on this package, we've got LEDs all around, as we'd expect. We've got a small TFT screen. It is colour, but it is quite small for a bike that is slightly more orientated towards touring. It would be nice if there was a bigger screen, but I think that's kind of across the Kawasaki's platform. We got 4 different rider modes. We've got traction control, ABS, quick shifter, the kind of usual things that we come to expect nowadays. Talking about the rider modes, you got sport, which is at the top, then road, rain and rider. Rider is going to be the one where you can go into the settings and adjust the parameters to how you want it. A good thing to see is when it is in rain is it drops the power from 100%, i.e. full, down to about 75-80%, which, let's face it, when it's pissing down, that's what you want. You don't want any chance of spinning that rear wheel up. So it really nice and kind of docile on the throttle, but there's still plenty of grunt there. It's not a slow bike by all means. I've got it in sport at the minute, and this thing picks up really quickly. I'm in third gear at the minute. Going down, quick shifter, super smooth. Come on, mate, what are we doing here? Going up the gears, sometimes, I think it's if you're lower in the rev range, there is a bit of a lag on the quick shifter. It does kind of jolt you forward a little bit, but I think it likes it being a little bit higher up on the RPM when you do change, just to make it that silky smooth. Looking at the ergonomics on this bike, like I said, I am 6'1". It's quite an aggressive seating position for me. It is a sports tourer, let's not forget that. There is the sports section in that name. It's not just a tourer. But I definitely find that my knee, hip, feet triangle is quite tight. I am getting a little bit of vibrations through the feet, / my feet are starting to go a little bit tingly just from how kind of aggressive stance they are. My top half isn't upright. I'm not back here, but I'm not all the way forward on my wrists, which is really nice to see. I'm kind of in that nice, comfortable attack position. Hope that makes sense. You feel like you can get on it in the twisties, but I'm not absolutely caning my wrists by just laying on them. The screen, it does have app connectivity, something like Rideology app, but I don't know if that gives you turn by turn. And that's the thing for me, is this meant to be a touring style bike, a sports tourer, but because it's got these clip-on style handlebars, the only real place for mounting anything is going to be a stem mount right in the middle. Or, obviously, this does have a universal foam mount on the left-hand side. I'm wondering, the problem is, I don't know if you can see, but that foam mount is integrated into the clutch lever. I was going to say if you could just take this off and mount your bracket there for your sat-nav, but not if it's integrated into the clutch lever perch. So yeah, you might have to just use your phone or get a stem mount for your TomTom or your sat-nav. Looking at the handlebars themselves, pretty basic. Right hand side is literally just the kill switch, starter switch. Left hand side, a little bit more going on. We've got our lights, our heated grip, which is nice to see. Not on a day like today, because it's like 20 degrees. And then we've got our rider mode, switch gear, our indicators and our horn. For changing the rider modes, obviously we've got those four. You have to push and hold up or down depending where you want to go in the lineup. And I believe you have to come off the throttle as well. And that's why earlier when I said about the modes, I said sport bin at the top and rider bin at the bottom, because you can only go up or down. You can't then kind of loop round from rider back to sport. I don't know about everyone else, but bikes that have the mirrors mounted further forward than the handlebar, I still find it strange. I still find myself looking a lot closer for the mirrors than where they are. I must say, the bite point and the throttle response on that first 10% pickup is beautiful. Like as soon as you engage to take off, it just goes. There's no joltiness, there's no jerkiness. I like. See, when we've got braking McGee in front of us, talking about the bike's brakes. We've got twin floating 300mm at the front and then a single 250 at the rear. What does that mean? One finger? Nah, it's lacking on the old one finger front. But two fingers, plenty enough power. And actually the rear's okay as well. I never like the rear brake on most bikes, it just never seems to be sharp enough. But again, brakes are very subjective. Some people like them strong, some people don't. Me personally, I like to be able to do all my braking one finger. Yeah, people are moan, I don't care. But I know Zoe, she likes a progressive braking. She likes to do nice gentle braking, and then if she wants to get harder, she just squeezes harder. So far the ride over these back roads, they can be quite notoriously bumpy, but they're okay. We've got 41mm inverted forks and you have got the adjustability on them. So far I wouldn't find the need to adjust the suspension. The last thing I forgot to mention with the electronic side is because this is a sports tourer, it does have cruise control. We love cruise control. Couple of things to mention then about the windscreen. Kawasaki say there are 4 different positions for the windscreen, and because this is the tinted one, this comes with the touring pack or the performance tourer, and this is meant to be a little bit bigger than the standard. I'm not sure what position it is in right now, I'll have a little look when I stop, but the wind is hitting me kind of chin line. Chin, mouth area, that's where the wind starts. So I'm obviously getting a lot of wind on the helmet. And the annoying thing is to adjust the windscreen, there's a button just under the screen, bottom right hand side. You've got to push that and then manoeuvre it with the other hand. So it's not something you can do whilst riding. And as you saw there, I pulled over and stopped so I could adjust my windscreen safely. The screen is now in its highest position. For me, I'd have it in high or low. And to get it from that position, the highest down, you can literally just push the button and the wind will force it down. Like so. Let me just pull over and put it back up. Okay, cool. So now the windscreen is back up in its highest position. So 30 miles an hour. The wind. I mean, how did it do it? How? The wind is still hitting me around the chin area. How is that possible? Look at the angle that's coming up. That should be straight over. There's definitely more wind protection, kind of left and right. But up and down. Thank you for doing your windscreen. Thank you, thank you. See what I mean about that lag? Yeah, the brakes are really sharp when you get on them. But do you see the lag with the quick shifter change? There's a lot of body movement. Yeah, I am slightly short shifting. There's a lot of wind hitting me kind of here and up. So it's like it's wrapping around and then coming in. I know on my previous SX videos, SX owners were complaining to me about moaning about the windscreen. Oh, what do you want me to do? Either the windscreen works or it doesn't. And right now, in its highest position, it doesn't work. Tunnel. That Acra can sounds good in the tunnel, I'll give you that. I don't know if you saw that, but obviously I had the screen in the highest position. I'd done the overtake and the screen went down into the lowest position. So that to me says the bracket arms or the mechanism isn't strong enough to hold the windscreen in its highest position when doing faster speeds. So there are some vibrations coming through the handlebars and the pegs, but not enough for me to shout home. So it does look like they've made some tweaks on that front, which is nice to see. Flickability then on this bike, it's alright. It's not a light bike. I think it's coming in at 235 kilos. And I believe as standard from the factory they come with S22s. So good sticky tyres. I must say it is easy to go quick on this. Just twist the throttle, doesn't matter what gear you're in. And this thing launches you. So you gotta be careful on these back roads. We've managed to pull over then. Let's have a little look around the 1000SX Sports Tourer Edition. Some of the extra features the Sports Tourer is going to give you is obviously we've got the dark tinted screen, got the frame sliders, Acra slip-on, colour-coded panniers as well, seat cowl for the rear. Moving up to the front, we have then got the universal phone holder. Last couple of extra features, then we've got the tank gel pad, screen protector on the TFT, and then the 12-volt charger. So looking at the different options you get, like I said, you've got the standard 1000SX, you've got the Performance Edition, you've got the Tourer Edition, and you've got the Performance Tourer Edition. So pricing, standard one is going to set you back at £12,150. Next one up then, the Performance is going to set you back £13,150. The Tourer is going to be £13,300, I believe. And then lastly, which is this one, which is the Performance Tourer, where you get all the bells and whistles, that is going to set you back at £14,300. Now those are the kind of starting points, because there are a few different colour options. You got your Kawi green, you got your black with a bit of red, and then like the silver one, where it's more black with a little bit of silver. The price points will slightly change between those colours as well. But honestly, I think for £14,300, it's a lot of motorcycle that you're getting. The bike also has a seat height of 835mm, which being 6'1" means I've got both feet flat on the floor, a nice bend in the knees, and like I said, it's a comfortable sports touring riding position, not too far forward on the wrists, and I'm not upright like this. This is what I meant though with the triangle between my hip, knee and feet. When I'm riding, it just feels a little bit tight around the knees, and then the feet do get a little bit achy after a while. I honestly think that the 1000SX could potentially be the best, well-priced sports touring motorcycle in the market. Now drop a comment below if you think I'm right. If you think I'm wrong, what would you put above this? So what do we think about the SX? Another thing to note, for 24 they have made the seats, both front and rear, a little bit wider and a little bit thicker for some extra comfort. I really like the fact that when you take the panniers off, the mounting system for the panniers is integrated into the bike. There's no extra racking. So yeah, you can just take it off and it looked like a sports bike, put it on and act like a tourer. I'm not a big fan of the side loading panniers because you have stuff in it, unless you have the inner bags. I believe they do come with inner bags, but unless you have everything inside the inner bags, it just all falls out when you open it up. At least with a top loading pannier, stuff ain't gonna fall out when you put it in. Like I said, unless you always use pouch, the accompanied inner bag, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. We've got a pretty decent sized tank. We've got 19 litres on this. Now I don't know what the maximum distance is per tank, but knowing Kawasaki and the way they just do their fueling, it's going to be good. You're going to get enough miles out of the tank before you're going to want to jump off and give your legs and your arse a rest anyway. Even if you didn't want to get the performance package, so the exhaust etc, and you just wanted the pannier system, so you got the tourer, you're talking, was it 13.1, 13.150, maybe 13.3, I'll put it on, I can't remember, old age. £13,300 for a litre bike that's set up for touring, you can't complain. For reference, my BMW GSA second hand, bear in mind I got it a year ago, and it's a 2019, was 14.5. So this already is beating a second hand BMW, which, let's face it, does exactly the same. The only other bike that I think contends with this for the price point, and then what it comes with for the touring side, is probably the Honda NT1100. And I think that is a little bit cheaper, and it comes with panniers as standard, whereas this obviously needs to add the touring pack to get the panniers. So I'm thinking very soon, the only thing to do is do a comparison between this and the NT1100, and I might even be able to get Zoe out for it. Because I know she likes this bike. Don't forget guys, if you are in the Somerset area and you want to come and test this bike out, head on to Completely Kawasaki in Yeovil. They've got a really decent selection of demo bikes as well, so if you want to test this out against the H2SX or the Versus 1000, obviously you can do that. Or if you want to try something completely different after this and then jump on the Z900, they've got it as well. Or subscribe to the channel because I'll be doing full reviews on all of their demo bikes. I would say now that summer's here, but it looks like it wants to do the wet stuff. The power curve on this is just so smooth and just linear, and it just goes. It pulls you, but it's not pull your arms off torque and power. It's just that perfect amount. You want to go, you go. One thing I did notice going over a few potholes earlier is you can hear the panniers kind of rattle when you go into the pothole. Just a little personal thing. It's no real big issue, just you can hear it. Well guys, I hope you found this video useful. If you have, give it a thumbs up. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, plenty more videos coming very soon. And there's nothing else to say, but until next time, ride safe.